Welcome to the Unquowa School's 101st Commencement Ceremony. Just this morning, at our closing ceremonies, our entire school community, students from pre-K 4 through 7th grade, faculty, parents, families, friends, got to wish our graduates well with handshakes and hugs and kisses and high fives. We heard recognition of each 8th grader and saw a very traditional and sweet video that gave a snapshot of each of our graduates' lives, both in Unquowa and outside of it, which their friends laughed at and sang along with. This evening's commencement ceremony, however, is the final ceremony for the class of 2019. Whether they have been with us for their entire education, joined us in the 3rd grade, or just arrived in upper school, each of our graduates comes here tonight having earned the right to pass on to high school and to begin an exciting new chapter of his or her life. I am so glad to be able to witness this moment with all of you and to wish our graduates well as they receive their diplomas and step out into the wider world. Rabbi Friedman, would you please offer our invocation?
To our graduates and students, board, to the entire Unquowa family, but especially to the grandparents, siblings, and the parents in this room. We know that we live in a world that is often uncertain and tumultuous. And that's why we find particular joy and wonder and even awe as we sit here in this room today and we see those smiling faces of young men and women who are graduating this institution. We are confident that they will bring hope and purpose and even blessing to our world, which needs it so dearly. There's a Jewish blessing that we use at happy occasions such as this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. We praise you, our God, creator of the entire universe, for giving us life, for sustaining us each day, and for enabling us to have the blessing of reaching this occasion in health, in strength, in joy, and with many blessings yet to come. Amen.
Friends, family, mentors, faculty, Rabbi Michael S. Friedman, Mr. Rob Lawton, and Dr. Doug Lyons. Welcome to the denouement of the 2019 school year, and thank you for coming to bear witness to the departure of its graduating class. But isn't it crazy we've lasted this long? Whew. In all seriousness, I congratulate my peers for their dedication and adherence to the mission of the Unquowa School, for their very presence today is a testament to their perseverance and how they have not just grown as students, but people as well. The road has had plenty of highs and plenty of lows, because as many of you know, middle school can be a little awkward, just a tiny bit. The road has been longer for some of us who have been here since they were toddlers, rummaging around a sandbox and pull-ups, and even for some of our most recent members, including myself. Nonetheless, I believe I speak for my peers when I say the journey has been worthwhile. For we have forged new identities from the banter and giggles of wide-eyed children. The virtues of the Unquowa experience are not selective to finding an identity in the most vulnerable years of our young lives, but also finding a voice. For I find the most important thing Unquowa has taught us is the art of self-expression. The world is our canvas, and we are its artists, eagerly sketching our mark upon its surface. Now that my speech is reaching its end, I would like to close by stating an interesting piece of history I found hunched over my Chromebook this past Sunday afternoon. In the fall of 1639, Roger Ludlow, one of the founders of the colony of Connecticut, led a small group of men and a large herd of cattle to the shore of the Long Island Sound. At a place known to the local Native Americans as Unquowa, they established a settlement that became known as Fairfield, named for the hundreds of acres of salt marsh that bordered the coast. The local Native Americans were known as the Unquins for the area in which they lived, which is thought to mean the place beyond. To me, this name seemed very appropriate for the school because Unquowa truly is a place beyond the pervasive hate of society, a place beyond discrimination, a place beyond favoritism, where the youth of today can be nurtured into the leaders of tomorrow within a safe environment which preserves the ever-fleeting whimsy, innocence, and imagination of childhood. For Unquowa is not just an institution, but an ideology. And as I search my own heart and those of my classmates, I know that we shall forever be Unquins. Thank you.
I heard somebody when we were in the boutonniere room talking about you running for president, Andrew, and I think if you could convince somebody that you'd been in 8th grade till you were 35, you could run and win. In this morning's closing ceremonies, we honored each 8th grader, highlighting the individual attributes that will serve them as they move on from Unquowa. Tonight, we will present several additional awards. First, may we re-announce the award winner of the Grippen Award, given to the 8th grader with the highest academic average, which was announced this morning. The award went to Kelly Jones.
The Unquowa Award is awarded to students who exhibit hard work, perseverance, and intellectual growth and curiosity across the disciplines. This year, the Unquowa Award is given to 2 students. The first is Maddie Shantz. The second is Amelia Lani.
This year, let me read first what the Headmaster's Cup is. The Headmaster's Cup is given at the discretion of the head of school each year with recommendations from the faculty. This year, the Headmaster's Cup goes to an 8th grader who first came to my attention when he showed up at my office door in 2nd grade for his appointment, and who came into 8th grade with a mission to have it all: friendship, successes, and opportunities to grow. This year, the Headmaster's Cup recipient is Blake Ehrenhaus.
The Board of Governors Cup is awarded to a student with a strong moral compass and who leads by example in the school community. This year's Board of Governors Cup is awarded to Haley Perkins. The John P. Blessington Award, given for the first time in 2005, honors John P. Blessington, Headmaster Emeritus of the Unquowa School, who has twice served as school head in times of need and has never ceased to genuinely care for and guide the Unquowa community. This award goes to a student who has a long history with the school and shows concern for his or her classmates and school friends in general, and who shows through his or her current actions the promise of continued stewardship of the school. This year's John P. Blessington Award is given to 2 students. The first is Michael Roberts. The second is Caroline Avery. The Elizabeth Curtis Award is awarded to an 8th grade girl whose skill and accomplishments in athletics have been matched by a true understanding of good sportsmanship. This year's Elizabeth Curtis Award goes to Kelly Jones. The John F. Turlick Award is awarded to an 8th grade boy whose skill and accomplishments in athletics have been matched by true understanding of good sportsmanship. This year's John F. Turlick Award goes to Theodore Geary.
The Allison D. Gray Award goes to a student whose sense of wonder and creativity empowers them to have a unique perspective on life and to make valuable and unexpected contributions to class across disciplines. 2 students earn this new award this year: Andrew Stumm and Carson Curry. The Janice Shannon Award has been established this year to honor the memory of our beloved colleague and teacher, Janice Shannon, whom we lost this past summer. Mrs. Shannon taught, inspired, and encouraged her youngest students for 20 years, during which time she modeled curiosity, empathy, and passion by making nature and art the core of her 3-year-old curriculum. She celebrated children's imaginations, she recognized each student's potential, and she truly respected and cherished the individuality of every child. The first recipient of this award is someone who likes to be behind the spotlight and the camera lens, and whose inquisitive nature photography contributed to pen and paper and was surely inspired by her time in Mrs. Shannon's class. Lily Panagas, come on up. Class agents are tasked with helping to keep their class connected to Unquowa in the future through traditional events and unique opportunities. These students value relationships, show empathy in their interactions with classmates and the greater community. Class Agent is a serious award to accept because it implies ongoing responsibility. It is awarded to students who, during their time at Unquowa, exhibit a desire for class unity, who express an understanding of the school's longevity, and who are willing to act as liaison between their class and the school, not only next year, but in the decades to come. I have no doubt that in appointing the following students to the position of class agent for the class of 2019, they will always remain connected to our school and look after its welfare and keep their classmates connected to each other for as long as they are able. The 2019 class agents will be, and you may come up together, Madison Greenspan and Grace Pisanelli.
The Robert L. Cleveland Award is awarded to an 8th grade student who exhibits a keen mind, sound body, and unafraid spirit. This year, there are 2 recipients of the Robert L. Cleveland Award. They are Jordan Werner and Ben Stokes.
I have the honor of presenting the Backstage Crew Award. Committing to Backstage Crew shows the dedication week in and week out, arriving early to setting up lights, sound cues each week, managing the slideshows. These students have put in countless hours to making that so that this stage can shine every assembly. We'd like to honor this year's 8th grade Backstage Crew leaders, Lily, Michael, and Eva. Please come up and join me on the stage. We recognize these 8th graders for their commitment with this plaque. It reads as follows. Listed here are the Unquowa grads who during their 8th grade year dedicated their time and talent to running backstage for all Unquowa events. This hangs backstage for future crews to be reminded of the crews past. Thank you for your leadership, dedication, and this year for making every event magical. And I'd like to take a second to thank each of you individually. Michael, I'd like to start by thanking you for always being on top of the sound. Our audio has never been so crisp. I'd like to give you this token of appreciation. No, I'm just kidding. I like to get this too. Couldn't help myself. It's a backstage joke. Lily, thank you for continually being the one who, while you may not always have known it, the one I look to keep things running smoothly and always keeping the backstage on track. I thank you with this small token of appreciation. And finally, Eva. At the start of this school year, I asked for someone to volunteer to man the weekly speech slideshows. You volunteered without hesitation. This is not a simple job. You have to be on target with where each slide changes as the speaker hits the mark. Not only did you do this job, but after the second speech, you did it flawlessly, and I knew I could trust you the entire year with it. Thank you for stepping into this position and doing it with ease, and I thank you with this small token. This year's 8th grade Backstage Crew, thank you.
The Jean Carpenter Winton Distinguished Alumni Award was established 8 years ago in honor of Jean Carpenter Winton, class of 1934, to be given to an alumnus or alumna who, like Jean, exhibits a strong sense of loyalty to the school and a personal commitment to our school's motto, "The future is in our care." 8th graders, this evening's announcement of your class agents, those members of your cohort who will keep you connected to each other and to our school, was actually a reminder to each of you. While we are confident that you will all go on to high schools in the fall, which will provide challenging and exciting worlds that are far bigger than Unquowa, it is also our dearest hope that each of you will always remember this little school by the brook, the teachers who have encouraged your curiosity and confidence, and the friends who will remain your friends for life. 8th graders, schools like Unquowa can only remain vibrant as long as young people like you grow up to be alumni who remember from decade to decade the important start they were given here. It is such sincere, steadfast support that affirms our work here as teachers and school leaders. This year's distinguished alumna, someone you all know, the Reverend Cecily Stoddard Stranahan, is someone who has a long history with our school. Not only did she and her older sister Anne and her younger brother Brandon all graduate from Unquowa, but theirs was one of the founding families of our school. Going on to Ethel Walker after Unquowa and then graduating from Vassar, she raised 3 children before returning to New York Theological Seminary and the Institute of Religion and Health to earn her master's degree in counseling and pastoral care. The Reverend Stranahan was also ordained by the new Seminary for Interfaith Studies and has been both a pastoral counselor and meditation and healing teacher for the past 20 years. I am lucky to have known Cecily for over a decade, and I am grateful for her dedication to our school as a past board member and an alumna. who has not only personally supported our school's recent efforts to grow, but has also compelled others to follow in her path. She is a compelling woman. The inspiration plaque placed by her behind our stage, "Go out there and shine," is a touchstone to encourage unafraid spirit in all Unquowa students. Cecily's relationship with our students has continued to grow over the years, and she continues to be an inspiration to and a sounding board for me with respect to our school's future path. Cecily, would you please come up to receive your award and to say a few words to our graduates?
Oh, wow, such an honor. Thank you, Sharon, outstanding head of Unquowa School. And thank you, the dedicated governing board of this school. And greetings, family and friends. Congratulations to the class of 2019. My best wishes to all of you in everything you endeavor. If the recent essay and art exhibit in Bridgeport is an example of what you're capable of, I believe there is hope for us in this unbalanced and troubled world. Yes, I went to Unquowa School. It was fine, just not this Unquowa School. This school, this Unquowa, is my dream school. It's what I would have hoped for. The teachers at this school make the teachers in my high school boarding school look like they never got out of bed. I think even some of my early college teachers were not as awake as the teachers here at Unquowa. I'm aware of this in particular because last week I treated myself to a visit to Mrs. Barbuto's kindergarten room. Later, I visited the 8th grade humanities class, which is under the expert tutelage of Mr. Sepharidis and Mrs. Liedline. Mr. O'Hara had other obligations that morning. In the kindergarten room, I was coaxed to the paper on the wall that described in words and pictures 5 ways to say good morning. I was met there by an adorable, solemn, dark-haired, dark-eyed boy. I crouched down to meet his eyes, and we did this list together. Number 1, wave. We waved. Number 2, say hi. Hi. Number 3, high five. We high-fived. Number 4, shake hands. My old veined hand met his soft, warm, small hand. Number 5, give a hug. I didn't dare to move. He studied me for a few seconds, then reached forward, wrapped his arm around me, and made my day. I was then introduced to the turtle. It's a tortoise, I was politely corrected by a small girl with a ponytail. What's the difference, I asked, not at all sure that I knew. Tortoises live on land, she told me. Turtles live in water. Now I know. A few minutes later, I stood in front of a framed picture of cut-out, brightly painted butterflies, each one different from the other. Butterflies, I thought, a symbol of transformation, and that is Unquowa, a school of transformation, a safe place to hug a stranger, a safe place to develop, to learn to express who you are, who you might even become. Onward to the humanities class, where they were reading Miss Jane Pittman, the biographic story of a Black woman born into slavery in the late 1850s, who lived to become part of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. Mrs. Liedline was leading the discussion, asking questions, responding to hands that shot up into the air. So much I could share with you about this class, but I will confine myself to two things that stood out for me. The first, when a student offered an opinion and she or he was responded to, Mrs. Liedline would then ask, "What is the textual support for your opinion?" The page of supporting text had to be found. This is advanced work. In the Unquowa Humanities class, the teachers are building a discipline in their students that, in the past anyway, one needed only in college, except for term papers maybe, but never in the classroom. Another question, one that Mrs. Liedline asked at the end of the discussion period, just blew me away. A fabulous question at so many levels. How many of you have learned something new in this conversation? Hands went up. I thought, she is asking them to come back into the present moment. She is asking them what they have learned from one another. She is asking them, were they paying attention to each other's viewpoints? A life lesson indeed. The class moved on to forming groups of 3 charged with identifying symbols from the reading that were meaningful to them. Mr. Seferides skillfully led this section, respectful of their ideas, asking them to develop them, to explore, to think further. I sat there listening, utterly envious of the opportunity offered to these 8th graders. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Your children and grandchildren are students at this wonderful school, and you know it well. And so today, at the same time that I celebrate the class of 2019, I want also to celebrate your wisdom in choosing this extraordinary school for your children. For you and for them, their experience here is a gift in the present, a gift for a lifetime. Thank you.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind. Hang it on a shelf in good health and good time. All of the memories and times that made us smile. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you
Our speaker this evening, Dr. Douglas Lyons, is truly one of those rare individuals who, as the cliche goes, needs no introduction, at least to those of us in the independent school world. Doug has been the executive director of the Connecticut Association of Independent Schools for 15 years. A graduate of Villanova University, Doug has master's and doctoral degrees from the University of Pennsylvania. He began his career in public education, serving for 20 years in New Jersey as a public school teacher, a coach, a school principal, and then a superintendent of schools. But in 1992, he left that superintendency in Mount Lakes, New Jersey, to accept the position as head of Greenwich Country Day School, where he spent 14 wonderful years before accepting the position of director of Connecticut's entire Association of Independent Schools. Doug's publications on education and on parenting have been in local, state, national journals, and in the popular media, including the New York Times. He's served on many nonprofit boards and committees, among them the Board of St. Angela's School in the South Bronx, the Freedom Foundation in Valley Forge, the United Way, the YMCA, Community Answers Service Organization in Greenwich. Doug is currently serving on the Stonington, Connecticut Planning and Zoning Board and on the vestry of Calvary Church in Stonington, where he serves as the president of the Nursery School Board as well. Over these past 15 years as association director, Doug has supported and empowered new school heads, and he has advised independent school boards. His counsel is sought on small issues and large, and he has truly made himself available day and night, no matter where he is. I called him recently and found at the end of the conversation that he was in Belgium. But he answered the phone. I count myself lucky to be among the school leaders who have been supported by Doug for the past 15 years. And I feel grateful that in this, his last month before retiring from CASE, he has found time to be with us this evening to speak to our graduates. Doug?
CAIS is a fellowship of 93 independent schools in Connecticut, including the high schools that our graduates will be attending. CIS is managed, led by a 20-member board of trustees, the president of which is Sharon Lauer at Unquowa. And Sharon, in that capacity, has been my partner and a godsend to me, so thank you. Members of the class of 2019, a few years ago, I found myself with a dilemma. I was in a situation similar to this. I was the second speaker at an 8th grade commencement, and I listened intently as the first speaker, the mayor of the town, offered a rousing 10-minute address composed of what I believed was essentially all bad advice. I briefly considered ditching my prepared remarks and offering a rebuttal. But realizing that would have been bad manners, I also thought that many of the themes that the mayor had addressed were in fact present in too many commencement addresses. The mayor told the class that they had so much to look forward to in September, assuring them that their high school years would be, quote, the best years of their lives. Well, I have fond memories of high school and college. I imagine most of the adults in this room do as well. But if we adults came into contact with a time machine and we were granted an opportunity to go back in time and relive 1 year of our lives exactly as we lived it originally, I doubt many of us would choose to go back to age 16 or even 22. And why not? Yes, those are exciting years. But a high school student is a work in progress, an unfinished canvas, the chrysalis stage between caterpillar and butterfly. Here at Unquowa, you've had a magnificent education, You've been well prepared for the rigors of future schooling and for the responsibilities of adult citizenship. However, though you've mastered the art of algebra and the crafting of a well-designed paragraph in an essay, there are volumes you have yet to learn, not only about the world, but about yourself. To be 15 is to be full of energy and promise, hope, and anticipation. But to be 15 is also to be burdened by self-doubt and the gripping need to be popular among peers that's common among all young people. So the mayor also suggested that for success in high school, you should just be yourself. Well, be yourself is good advice if you've had enough life experience to really know who that self is. For most of you, your life to date has been a largely and lovingly supervised experience. But now it becomes your turn. You'll begin the process of becoming the primary author and architect of your life story. And for a 15-year-old, that can be very liberating, but it can also be somewhat terrifying. Hopefully, you've arrived at this graduation with enough curiosity and confidence to begin to take some real-world risks. Smart risks, responsible risks, risks on people, on new relationships, risks on ideas that seem foreign and exciting, and risks on opportunities. Opportunities that you have never imagined you would ever choose to pursue. Shortly after my college graduation in January of 1972, I accepted an offer for a four-week assignment, short-term substitute high school history teacher. I had never imagined myself as a teacher in a classroom, took no courses in education, imagined every other possible profession, but here was an opportunity, 4 weeks to work at a high school teaching American history. I took it. 10 years later, I was still at that school, but now as the principal. Mine has been a deeply meaningful and totally accidental career. Every graduation speech I have ever heard included some version of the phrase, "Follow your passion." Let me suggest that certainly you should follow your passions as you grow up, as you discover them. But during that period of self-discovery, I encourage you to also follow your opportunities. Opportunities you have never imagined for yourself. Your high school and college years will be all about discovering and creating and ultimately accepting the grown-up version of yourself. Over the years, you'll probably test out a few different versions of yourself before the authentic you begins to emerge and feel natural and comfortable. And that process, by the way, will at times be very difficult on your parents. Well, the mayor concluded his remarks by congratulating the graduates on the many achievements as a class. He said he watched them grow up. He had never seen so much natural talent in one graduating class. Well, I also knew that graduating class fairly well, but I'm convinced that their achievements had very little to do with talent. The author Roger Kahn tells a wonderful story in a book called The Boys of Summer about the Dodgers, Brooklyn baseball teams in the 1940s. He was interviewing his childhood idol, George Shotgun Shuba. And he told him how much he admired him when he was a boy, how thrilled he was by Shuba's famous swing, how easy it looked. He finished his compliments by saying, "It must have been quite a blessing, Mr. Shuba, for you to have been born with such natural talent." The retired baseball player listened and smiled. And then he said, "George, come down to my basement with me. I'll tell you all about my natural talent." He reached into a cabinet and pulled out a wooden bat which had been drilled hollow and then filled with lead. Shuba stepped up to a thick rope hanging from the rafters in the basement ceiling. The rope had a large knot at the bottom, about the size of a baseball. Shotgun swung the bat. It was that famous old swing. The bat parted the air, struck the knot, which sizzled on impact. Kahn said it was the hardest, most beautiful swing he had ever seen. Shuba stepped back and said, "You called that my natural talent. Roger, I swing a 44-ounce bat 600 times every night, 4,700 times a week, 47,000 swings every winter. I'm real glad you like my swing, but there ain't nothing natural about it." Yes, there are people who are genetically gifted for certain skills, and yes, there are people who seem to have a lot of luck. But Einstein called his success 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. Mark Twain wrote, "It seems the harder I work, the luckier I get." A recent survey of 400 Olympic athletes asked them to rank the personal qualities that they believed were most closely responsible for their success as Olympic athletes. The number one attribute they listed was perseverance. I spent 47 years in schools working with kids and also working with athletes. Trust me on this, talent is highly overrated. Most of your achievements in high school and beyond will not be a result of your talents, but rather a result of your efforts. Some of those achievements will be public and measurable. In my high school yearbook, under my picture, there's a list of my achievements in high school. The sports I played, the clubs I joined, the honors I received. Standard high school yearbook stuff. What's missing, as I look at that yearbook 50 years later, is a list of my attachments. The teachers who knew me, who trusted me, who believed in me even when I wasn't so sure. The coach who taught me how to turn the pain of long-distance running and swimming into spiritual experiences. The school advisor who gave me a number of books that changed my life. I met my best friend in 6th grade. He's my best friend today. He's the godfather to my children, and I am to his. He's an anchor in my life. I wish I could change the text under my high school yearbook photo, because right now it says, Doug Lyons, greatest high school achievement, dash, senior class president. I wish it could say, greatest high school achievement, dash, Johnny Freeman. What do you call a 54-year friendship? I call it a monument. There's something rare and special about the friendships that are formed when we are growing up, about the ways in which you know each other. You know each other in ways that all the other people that join your life will not know you. The friendships and attachments you've made at Unquowa and others you will make in the next few years, maintained over a lifetime, may ultimately prove to be a far greater source of your happiness as adults than all the business deals, job promotions, and awards you win in your adult life. The American writer Ernest Hemingway recalled his youth growing up in the capital of Europe, saying, "If you are lucky enough to have lived in Paris as a young man, wherever you go for the rest of your life, Paris stays with you because Paris is a movable feast." Members of the graduating class, congratulations on your commencement, which translated literally means a beginning. Your memories of this school are too fresh and your age still too tender for you to realize and understand the influence the years you have spent here will have on the rest of your life. But be assured, wherever you go, forever, a part of this unique community will be in you and will remain in you, for Unquowa is also a movable feast. Congratulations.
Carson Alexandra Curry. Eva Catherine Dewar. Blake Alexander Ehrenhaus. Theodore Gary. Madison Greenspan. Kelly Ann Jones. Amelia Marie Lanny. Lily Panagos. Haley Addison Perkins. Grace Elizabeth Pisanelli. Michael Rutherford Roberts. Madeline Dean Shantz. Benjamin Dominic Stokes. Andrew John Stoon, Jr. Jordan Drew Werner. Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2019.
It all began in pre-K 3, when me, Caroline, Blake, Lily, and Haley walked into the school that we would one day call home. and into the loving arms of Mrs. Shannon. She taught us one skill that I will forever hold in my heart and carry with me in the years to come: curiosity. We watched caterpillars turn to butterflies and held them in our hands, our eyes filled with wonder. We studied the captivating stories of artists from around the world, always creating our own beautiful masterpieces, simultaneously learning to be proud of our own accomplishments and those of others. One of my most vivid memories from our first year at Unquowa is how we all dressed up as pretty princesses every day. All of us, including Blake. And while Mrs. Shannon may not physically be here with us today, I know that she is with us in spirit, and that she will always be a part of our lives as we graduate today and into the future. In pre-K 4 and kindergarten, although we didn't gain any new members of our graduating class, we still learned so much that has built us into the people we are today. In pre-K 4, with Mrs. Beninati and Mrs. Lawrence, we learned friendship, playing with each other, dolls, and toys, and very often fighting over those dolls and toys, which is why in kindergarten we learned the value of sharing, with Mrs. O'Connell and Miss Barbudo. Kindergarten was also where we first learned to read, which has become and will continue to be a huge part of our lives. In first grade came along Theo and Grace. With Mrs. Diallo, we learned the importance of maturity, learning how to organize our things, treat others the way we'd like to be treated, but also to realize how important it is to enjoy every moment, both in and out of the classroom. My favorite memory from first grade will always be the knighting ceremony, where we all had to earn our badges and the feeling when we went up on stage and proudly received our sashes. The 5 characteristics we worked hard to express throughout our first grade year to earn those badges were kindness, responsibility, bravery, honesty, and friendship. In second grade came Ben. Yikes. With Mr. RM, we, without a doubt, learned adventure. I'll always remember lighting the cardboard box on fire on the basketball court. That may have been one of the most terrifying moments of my life, as the only other place I'd ever seen fire was, my own fireplace. But even though I was scared to death, looking back at it now, that was the first moment where I really learned to step out of my comfort zone. I think the whole graduating class here today would agree that in addition to Mr. RM being a totally awesome teacher and not giving us any homework ever, he was really the one who helped us all step out of our comfort zones and learn to take risks. In third grade, both Eva and Michael joined our class. Mrs. Gordon taught us to respect both each other and the natural world around us. I'll never forget all the science experiments that we did in class, and at the same time, we grew closer to nature and learned to work with one another in a group. Learning to work together has had a huge impact on our class throughout the years, and has greatly aided us in bonding and coming together as one class. Fourth grade was when Carson came into our grade. Taught by Mrs. Bruno, we learned compassion by spending the year knitting scarves and hats and then donating them to the less fortunate at Mercy Learning Center. This experience has helped us to go on and each help multiple other charities like Loaves and Fishes, and to give things that we don't truly need away to those who don't have them. For example, our whole class donated over 1,000 new socks last year, made uplifting cards for cancer patients, participated in the food drives, coat drives, book drives, and many more. In fifth grade came Amelia and Maddie. We learned leadership with the help of Mrs. Faulkner and Mrs. Lamb, as it was the beginning of our upper school career. Fifth grade was where everyone in our class really began to find themselves and come into their own unique identity. And I think we can all agree that the absolute best part of fifth grade was our fake snowball fights every morning in homeroom, which, by the way, I always won. Fifth grade was another year where we discovered the importance of kindness and friendship, always working together to be the best that we could possibly be. Then in sixth grade, joined Madison, Andrew, and Jordan, completing our graduating class. Although we did have many different teachers for each class that year, they all taught us one common lesson: resilience and adapting to upper school. This has been in the backs of our minds for the past 3 years, helping us to overcome challenges and obstacles in our paths. The other lesson we learned that I'm sure was everyone's favorite was, you guessed it, TLS. But seriously, even though everyone, including myself, thought this method of mindfulness was only meant to torture us, looking back at it now, it was actually really helpful when we were stressed, and was a big part of that idea of resilience and persistence. Seventh grade didn't bring any new members of our graduating class, but that was okay because it gave us more time to grow closer as a class. In seventh grade, we became scholars, learning and understanding different cultures. By understanding the world around us and its different people, it also taught us to understand and accept each other, which I think has continued into this past year, in 8th grade, where finally we learned gratitude for this amazing school, for these incredible teachers, and most importantly, for each other. Our class has really bonded this year, and even though we all have friend groups and even a clique or two, I am confident that now, after this amazing year, I can call all 15 of you my friends. Whether it was playing volleyball or paintball or paddle boating, our 8th grade year was filled with loads of fun and excitement, and I know that I will never forget any of it. And here we all are, well prepared for the next chapter in our lives. And while our class may be graduating, I am positive that Unquowa will always be a part of our lives as we move on to high school and into the future. So I'd like to thank all of the teachers that we've had since the beginning of our Unquowa career, whether we came in pre-K 3 or 6th grade. You have taught us so much and have built us into the people and the class standing here today. And finally, I also want to thank the amazing class of 2019 that has been by my side all these years. And whether I've known you for 3 or 11 years, it truly has felt like forever. I know that we are all so sad to be leaving Unquowa, but I know that it will always have a special place in our hearts. We will be coming back to visit. Thank you.
I invite you into whatever posture of prayer is most comfortable for you. Loving Creator, we give you thanks for the gift of this day and for all the blessings that have been a part of it. We thank you especially for the opportunity to come together this day to celebrate and honor all the members of the Unquowa school community, its board, staff, faculty, alum, and most especially today, its graduating students. As they get ready to leave this place, we ask that you keep them in your special care. Help them to remember the invaluable lessons they have learned here. Allow them to be guided by the examples of their teachers and the students who have gone before them. And may they always retain that unafraid spirit of this school by the brook. As this chapter closes, a new one starts, and though there may be fears at its beginning, help us to remember that you are always present with us in all that we do, no matter where we go. Send us out to love and serve you with gladness and joy in our hearts, to do our best in a changing world, and help us to leave it better than we found it. All these things we ask in your unchanging name of eternal love. Amen.
Okay, we took it.
I didn't see it flash.